Pre-calc homework, day 2, story problems. Question 21. You are trying to figure out how long will an object take to reach the ground. For 21, the formula is h equals negative 16 t squared plus v sub o t and then plus h sub o. H is when you're trying to find the t value is the time. H is the height where you want it to reach. So in this case, they want it to, it says when will it reach the ground? So that's going to be 0. So negative 16t squared. Since you're dropping it, if you drop it, when you drop it, v sub o is going to be 0. So it's 0t. And this is the object's height. Object's height, you are at the top of a 640-foot building. So now how would you solve this? Since there's no middle term, you can actually bring this over here. Negative 16t squared equals 640. Actually, this is going to be a positive 16t when you bring t squared when you bring it over. Divide both sides by 16. You get t squared is equal to 40. Take the square root of both sides, and you get plus or minus, but you're going to throw out the negative answer. So at 6.32 seconds, the object, which is 640 feet above the ground, will reach the ground. For B, it says if it's thrown downward, the velocity is going to be negative. So for B, you have 0 equals, you want to know when it's going to reach the ground, negative 16t squared. You're going to, if it's being thrown downward, the velocity is going to be negative. So negative 52t, and you are still 640 feet above the ground. So now I would use my graphing calculator, and I would type under y sub 1, I would type in, for your calculator, negative 16x squared, and then minus 52x, and then plus 640. And then hit graph. And my window, I'm going to change my window to a standard window and see where it hits. There's a negative answer, and then you want this positive answer because you don't want the negative time. So you're going to hit second calc 0, and it looks like it's between 3 enter, 7 enter. Your answer is 4.904 seconds. So if you were to throw something downward, the velocity is negative. That's the height of where the object is, and you want to know when it's going to reach the ground. 22. 22 says, you are standing on a cliff 200 feet high. How long will it take a rock to reach the ground at the bottom of the cliff in each case? If you drop it. So if you drop it, you're going to use the formula. All of these are going to be using the formula negative 16t squared plus v sub o t plus h sub o. So if you drop it, your velocity is 0. And you are 200 feet on a cliff. So this is going to be 200. You want to know when it's going to reach the ground. So again, I would bring negative 16t over here. 16t squared equals 200. Divide by 16. So you get t squared equals, let's just do this without a calculator because it's pretty simple. So 200 divided by 16, and then take the square root of that answer. And so you have 12.5 here, and you take the square root, you end up with t is plus or minus 3.5, but we're going to disregard the negative answer, so 3.5355, so you can round to whatever they tell you to. So this is in seconds. That's A. So this is A. For B, they want to know you throw it downward at an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. So if you throw something downward, everything will stay the same, but this is going to be a negative 40. So 0 equals negative 16t squared minus 40t, and then plus 200. So I would probably, if you can't use the quadratic formula, you could use your graphing calculator. So typing this in your calculator, you would have negative 16x squared minus 40x, and then plus 200. Hit graph, and there is our answer right there. We're going to ignore the negative. So how do you get that answer? Second calc, 0, and it looks like it's between 2 and 5 seconds, and the answer is 2.5, so 2.5 seconds. And for C, it says how far does the rock fall in 2 seconds? So for this one, it's a little different. You're going to take your formula, and you're still 200 feet. You're still 200 feet above the ground, and your velocity is still, you're throwing it down, so negative 40. So you still use this information here. So they want to know when will it, they want to know how high, in 2 seconds, how high will the rock be? So you're going to plug 2 in here for time. So negative 16 times 2 squared minus 40 times 2 plus 200. You're going to simplify all of this, and you should get 56 feet. This is the height above the ground. Okay, so now what you're going to do, so you're going to do 200 minus your 50. I'm sorry, this is 56, not 50, 50. So if you subtract 56, because you are 200 feet above, you're on a cliff, so that's it's traveled 144 feet. So this is how far it's traveled. You're on a cliff, so if you go 56, it's 140 feet above the ground. Next one, 23. A rocket is fired straight up from the ground with an initial velocity of 800. Okay, so now how long will it take the rocket to rise 3,200 feet? So I want to use the formula H equals negative 16t squared plus V sub O t plus H sub O. So your initial velocity is 800, so that's going to go right here, and it's positive because you're firing it straight up. So 800, and we want to know when is it going to reach, you're on the ground, so H sub O is 0. How long will it take to reach 3,200 feet? So this is when we're finding the time when it reaches this height. So I would use my graphing calculator, and you're going to get, for this one, you're going to see that it crosses at 4.384 seconds. There is another answer, and the other answer is 45.616, but it says how long will it first take it to reach that, and that's the first time. So your rocket is going to go up, and then it's going to come down. So it's going to reach this height again at 45 seconds, but we don't want that answer. Then the next one for B, when will the rocket hit the ground? So you're going to do the same problem, but instead of 3,200, you're going to put a 0 here. So 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 800t. And how do you find this answer? You can plug this into your calculator, and you're gonna get 0 and 50. So at 0 seconds, it's gonna be on the ground, and at 50 seconds, it's going to be on the ground. Number 24, a rocket loaded with fireworks is to be shot vertically upward from the ground with an initial velocity of 200 feet. So you want to know when the rocket reaches 400 feet on its upward trip, the fireworks will be detonated. How many seconds after liftoff will this take place? So you're solving for t. So it's going to be negative 16t squared plus 200. You're going upward, so initial velocity is positive. And the object is on the ground. You want to know when it's going to reach a height of 400 feet. And again, type this in your calculator, and you will get 2.5 seconds. So I will type this in to show you. You're going to type in negative 16x squared plus, because the initial velocity is positive, 200x, and then minus 400, because you want to bring this 400 to the other side. So hit graph, and you will see there's your answer right there. And that, when you hit second calc, 0, and it's between 2, enter, and 4, you get 2.5. So 2.5 seconds, it will reach that 400 feet, and then the firework will detonate. So 2.5 seconds. Number 25, it says the dimensions of a rectangular box are consecutive integers. And then it talks about the volume. Well, consecutive integers is n plus 1, and n plus 2. So if you have a box, a rectangular box, they're saying that one side is n, another side is n plus 1, and the other side is n plus 2. So volume is length times width times height. We're saying that the volume is 13,800. So you're going to do n times n plus 1 times n plus 2, and set this equal to 13,800. So let's do that. On our calculator, you're going to do x, and then parenthesis, x plus 1, parenthesis, and then x plus 2, parenthesis. And then if you have to delete anything, hit graph. Now you may not see your answer. So what you're going to want to do is hit change your window to, see if you can see it. And the answer to this one is I have something typed in wrong. Oh, I did not type in minus, that's what I did wrong, minus 13,800. Now hit graph. Now you should see the answer. And it is right there. So I did not type in my number. Type that in. And we are going to hit second calc 0. And it looks like it's between 20, enter, and 29. The answer is 23. So your first integer is 23. So it's a 23 by 24 by 25 box. So for this one, you're going to type in the consecutive integers are n plus 1, and n plus 2. And the volume is equal to that. So when you type this in when you graph this in your calculator, you're going to see this line right here. You have to find that. And you may have to expand your window. So for the last one, 26, find a real number. So x is our real number that exceeds its cube by 2. So here's your real number. Its cube is x cubed equals 2. So, I'm sorry. This is going to be x equals x, its cube is exceeded by 2. So the number that you cube will be 2 more than the original number. So now type this in your calculator, go to y1, and you're going to type x minus x cubed minus 2. So you have x minus x cubed minus 2. Hit graph. And that's the actual number. It's a real number. Hit second, calc, 0. It's the first one that we're going to use the negative answer. I'm going to say left bound is -3, enter, and the right bound is 0. And hit enter, and your answer is -1.52. Here it is. So the answer is -1.52. That is the number that if you cube it, it will exceed it. The cube will exceed it by 2.